डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Namaskar. My name is Dr. Saurabh Vaishnav. Today, I will be sharing my views about the first book of the famous epic written by John Milton, Paradise Lost. What I have included in today's session is some brief information about John Milton. What are the various characteristics of an epic? Milton's idea of heaven, universe, and hell. A brief overview of the first book of Paradise Lost. Milton's invocation, which is from line 1 till line 26 of book 1. Then from the 27th line till the 49th line is the scope of the poem. That's what Milton talks about in the first book. The description of hell and Satan's first speech. That is from line number 50 till 126th line. Then from line 127 till 155, Beelzebub speaks. Then from line 156 till line 330, Milton has described Satan and also the awakening of fallen angels. Then from line 331 till line 521, we have the introduction of various fallen angels as pagan gods. From line number 522 till line 669, Satan is marshalling the fallen angels and is also sharing his plan. And the last part of the first book, we have the building of pandemonium and its possession by the fallen angels. Now, some brief information about John Milton. John Milton was born in 1608 and he took his last breath in 1674. John Milton Sr., his father, wanted him to become a clergyman. In fact, there was no financial constraints in the Milton household. But John Milton, he was too independent and an anti-royalist for the church under Charles I. He did not support Charles I, who was the monarch of England. Hence, in 1632, just at a tender age of 24 years, Milton decided to become a poet. Now, in order to draft his poems, to compose his poems, Milton undertook formal learning of the French language, Italian language, Hebrew language, Latin language, and also Greek language. Which is why some critics observe that Milton's poetry is somewhat difficult to understand because he uses words and phrases from various other languages apart from English. His first collection of poems was published in 1646. Sadly, Milton lost his eyesight by 1652. He was absolutely blind by 1652. After the dethronement of the monarch, that is Charles I, he supported the Commonwealth regime under Oliver Cromwell till 1655. He was, throughout his entire life, a voracious supporter of freedom. He wrote a lot of tracts emphasizing about the importance of freedom. Paradise Lost, the first edition of Paradise Lost contained 10 books, and the first edition was published in 1667. Milton added 2 more books, and the second edition of Paradise Lost was published in 1674. Milton has also written another epic, Paradise Regained, in 1671. Now, since today we are discussing about Paradise Lost, we need to understand a few characteristics of an epic. Now, the word epic is derived from the Greek word epikos, which means a word, a song, or a speech. Epic is a long narrative poem, usually in multiple books. Just like Paradise Lost, the second edition has 12 books. An epic, the plot of an epic centers around a hero of unbelievable stature. And the stature is not only physically unbelievable, but mentally, psychologically, the hero is a very strong character. Epic also involves deeds of superhuman strength and valor. An epic has a vast setting not only in terms of geography, but also in terms of time as well. Milton, in this epic, has used heaven, the universe, and hell. So it is a huge setting that Milton has used in this epic. An epic also involves supernatural forces, that is gods, ghosts. And lastly, an epic is formal in nature and stylized. Now, in order to understand Paradise Lost, we need to understand Milton's idea of heaven, universe, and hell. So, in Milton's universe, heaven is at the pinnacle. Underneath heaven is the universe, and the universe has earth as its center. Further below universe is this place called chaos, and within the realm of chaos is hell. So this is the idea of Milton's universe. Now, some information about the first book. Milton begins his epic in media res, meaning in the middle of the action. Some of the action has already taken place. Some of the events have already taken place. We will get to know about these events later on. So the book begins in the middle of an action. Book 1 is about man's disobedience and the loss of paradise. How human beings, they disobeyed God and hence they lost paradise. Book 1 is also about Satan lying in the center of hell. In fact, why is Satan lying in hell? We will get to know later on, but the events have already happened and Satan unfortunately is lying there helplessly in the beginning, in the middle of hell. Satan revolted against God in heaven Book 1 entirely focuses on Satan. In fact, some critics argue that the way how Milton has drawn the character of Satan is a very strong character, a very powerful, mighty character, not only physically but even mentally. So, some critics argue that Satan, in fact, is a hero of Paradise Lost, even though he chooses to be with evil and not good. The most important theme of the epic is good versus evil. Book 1 contains 798 lines. I will try my best to justify, to explain the most important lines of Book 1. And here lies the skill, the talent, the genius of John Milton. Every line of Paradise Lost is in pentameter, meaning there are 10 syllables in each line. So that's how he has composed the poem. Now let us begin with Book 1. The first 26 lines, Milton is invoking the muse. Let us read the first 6 lines of not only the book but also of the poem. Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all our woe. With loss of Eden, till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat, sing heavenly muse. My dear friends, I have used numbers in parenthesis, in brackets. They denote the actual line in the book. So I have taken the first 6 lines of the book. Milton is talking about how man disobeyed God and the fruit of that forbidden tree. God had asked man, that is Adam and Eve, to enjoy their stay in the Garden of Eden. God had given them everything to enjoy, but just requested them, instructed them not to taste the fruit of the forbidden tree. Other than the forbidden tree, Adam and Eve were free to taste the fruit of any other tree. But man disobeyed this. So this is man's first disobedience. And the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste, tasting that fruit brought mortality, brought illness, brought suffering, brought death. Whose mortal taste brought death into the world. Because man disobeyed God, then God punished man by saying that now you will go to the earth and you will face the consequences of illness, of suffering, of death. And all our woe with loss of Eden, the Garden of Eden which was in heaven, till one greater man refers to Jesus Christ. One greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. Jesus Christ will redeem and restore us back to the Garden of Eden in heaven. Sing heavenly muse. And now Milton is invocating the muse. Dear friends, muse, according to Greek mythology, is a deity that inspires an artist. So Milton is requesting heavenly muse to guide him in this humongous work, this mammoth task of composing an epic. Sing, heavenly muse. Milton is addressing a muse. In fact, Milton is addressing that muse which dictated the Bible to Moses. So Milton is requesting the guidance of heavenly muse to help him in his task. Further, Milton writes, line number 19, instruct me, teach me how to draft, how to compose an epic. Illumine, shine, radiance. I need your guidance. I need your shine, your radiance, illumination. What is low in me, raise and support. That to the height of this great argument. Whatever is inferior in me, please ensure that my inferior qualities remain inferior and my virtues, they are much more superior. Help me in that. So that with my argument, I can reach the height, the zenith, the pinnacle. I may assert eternal providence so that I can prove God and the ways of God, justify the ways of God to men. This is no ordinary task that he has taken into hand. Milton has taken the task of justifying the ways of God to us. How God rules. What is the methodology of God? And that's what he's going to teach us. And hence, he needs the guidance, the help, the blessings of heavenly muse. Moving on. In book 1, from line 27 till line 49, Milton has talked about the scope of the poem. So line 28 he writes, say first, what cause moved our grandparents in that happy state, favored of heaven so highly, to fall off from their creator? Milton is asking, what happened? What happened to our grandparents? And he is referring to Adam and Eve, the great grandparents of humanity. What happened to them? They were in a happy state. They were in favor of heaven, in favor of God. What happened drastically? Why did they fall off from their creator? What did they do to offend God, who first seduced them to that foul revolt? Is there anyone who tried to seduce them, manipulate them? Is there anyone who tried to manipulate Adam and Eve to revolt against God? The infernal serpent, yes, Satan, in the disguise of a serpent, manipulated them to revolt against God, to taste the fruit of the forbidden tree. What time his pride had cast him out from heaven with all his host of rebel angels. Why was Satan cast out from heaven? Satan, in fact, his position, he had a place in heaven. He had a place with God. And it's not only him alone, but his followers, fallen angels, they also had a place in heaven. But because they tried to revolt against God, hence God banished them out of heaven and threw them in hell. Him, the almighty power, hauled headlong flaming from the ethereal sky with hideous ruin and combustion down to bottomless perdition. He was thrown off from heaven, and headlong flames, fire, were thrown at Satan, and he was displaced from his position and cast out of heaven into hell, to bottomless perdition. He's in hell. He's at the bottom, rock bottom. Moving on from line 50 till line 126 is the description of hell. Milton has described hell, and Satan also delivers his first speech in these lines. So line number 50 goes, 9 times the space that measures day and night. If light travels, we know light travels very fast. So if light travels for 9 consecutive days, 9 days and 9 nights, if light travels, and the distance which is covered by light, that is the distance to mortal men, he with his horrid crew lay vanquished. That is the distance between heaven and hell. The exact distance is not mentioned, but distance in the unit of light is mentioned by Milton. That Satan, who was in heaven, right now he has hit rock bottom, he is lying in hell, and the distance between heaven and hell is like if light travels from morning to night for 9 consecutive days, and the distance that the light travels is the distance between heaven and hell. The dismal situation, waste and wild. A dungeon horrible on all sides round. Satan, that's the description of hell. That's the description of the place where Satan is lying down. It's a dismal situation. It's a sad, unfortunate situation. Waste, and it is a wild situation. This place is not the place that reflects peace, that reflects serenity, calmness, tranquility, which was the place that heaven reflected. This is wild. This is a wild place. This is like a prison, a dungeon, horrible, on all sides round. Line 70. Such place, eternal justice had prepared for those rebellious. Here, their prison ordained in utter darkness. God had prepared this place. He kept this place ready. If anyone rebelled against God, revolted against God, if anyone goes against the will, the wish of the God, they will be punished at such place. So God had prepared this place. This place, eternal justice, that is God had prepared for anyone who rebelled. This is like a prison, a dungeon, a jail. Moving on, the description of hell, further description of hell and also Satan's speech. We are continuing this section. And thence, in heaven, called Satan, with bold words, breaking the horrid silence, thus began. After the 84th line is when Satan starts speaking. Satan observes everything, and then with bold words he starts speaking, and he says, "If thou beest he, but oh how fallen, how changed." And he continues speaking till the 94th line, that is the force of those dire arms. Now, Satan is in fact addressing Beelzebub. Beelzebub was the commander of Satan's army, the first person in Satan's army. So he held the first rank in his army, and he's looking at Beelzebub, and he's so sad, and is trying to convince Beelzebub, is this you? Are you indeed Beelzebub? What has happened? How drastically you have changed. How miserable you are in. You are in such a pity condition. What happened? Some of the most important lines that Satan speaks in that, the first line is, what though the field be lost? All is not lost. The unconquerable will and study of revenge, immortal hate and courage never to yield or submit. And what is else not to be overcome? That glory never shall his wrath or might extort from me, to bow or sue for grace with suppliant knee. And is telling to Beelzebub, what though the field be lost? Satan and his followers, in fact, they rebelled against God. Satan wanted to be the king of heaven. He wanted to have the position of God. He wanted to usurp the position of God. And he was banished from hell. And still, with determination, with conviction, he is saying this to Beelzebub, what though the field be lost? So what that we lost the war? So what? All is not lost. Not all is lost. Not everything is lost. Tells about how he is still an inspiring person. Satan and his followers have lost miserably, pathetically. But this is a leader who is trying to instill some courage, some confidence into the army. All is not lost. The unconquerable will, our will, no one can conquer it. It is still strong. And courage, never to yield or submit. We have the courage. We have the courage. We will not yield or submit. We will not give up. We will not give up so easily. And study of revenge, immortal hate. Study of revenge. We are going to take revenge. We will study. We need to research a little more about revenge. Immortal hate. The hate that we have is immortal, is going to be there forever. We already discussed this line. And courage never to yield, never to submit or yield. And what is else not to be overcome? What can we not overcome? With confidence, with conviction. What can we not overcome? Meaning, we can overcome anything and everything. That glory never shall his wrath or might extort from me. My glory, my pride, my confidence, my respect, he shall never extort his wrath or might. His wrath or might, meaning God's power or God's strength, God's might, is not take away from me. My glory is going to stay there with me forever. My confidence, my pride, God cannot take it away from me. To bow and sue for grace with suppliant knee? Am I supposed to bow down to God by bending on my knee, by lying, by demeaning myself, getting to a lower position, by bowing down on one knee, am I supposed to respect God? Is that what's going to happen? Certainly not. That's what Satan is trying to say. In line 120, Satan speaks, we may, with more successful hope, resolve to wage by force or guile eternal war. We need to have this war. This is not the end of war. We lost a part of it, but we still have to win the entire war. So it's just a battle that we have lost. The war is still there. So to wage by force, to fight, we will fight either by force or guile, manipulation, cunningness. Is saying we are going to continue the warfare either by force, by strength, by violence, by physicality, or by cunningness, by manipulation. Irreconcilable to our grand foe, who now triumphs, and in the excess of joy, soul reigning holds the tyranny of heaven. Our grand foe, who is the enemy of Satan? God. Satan considers God as his enemy, and Satan wishes to continue his fight against God. He promises to keep fighting against God. God, who right now, after the end of this fight, is reigning alone. He is the supreme ruler in heaven. And Satan promises that he would release heaven from the tyranny of God, who is right now very happy. Continuing, so line 127 till line 155, Beelzebub speaks now. After Satan stops speaking, now Beelzebub is a first commander, the commander-in-chief of Satan's army. He starts speaking. And look at the way how Beelzebub addresses Satan. O prince, O chief of many throned powers. You are a prince. You are the chief of many throned powers. Many kingdoms. You are the chief. You are the prince of many kingdoms. That's how he begins addressing Satan. From line 131 till line 136, Beelzebub says, fearless, endangered heaven's perpetual king, and put to proof his high supremacy, whether upheld by strength or chance or fate. Too well I see and rue the dire event that with sad overthrow and foul defeat hath lost us heaven. Beelzebub says, you are fearless and endangered heaven's perpetual king. Right now, heaven is ruled by God, and you are the endangered heavens forever perpetual king. You put to proof his high supremacy. You question the supremacy of God. That's what you did. Whether upheld by strength or chance or fate. So Beelzebub is like, he's not aware. Why did we lose this war? Is it because of strength? The strength of God was much more powerful. Is it because of chance? Just by luck, by fluke, God won this war? Or We were destined to lose this war. It was our fate to lose this war. Beelzebub is not aware about this, whether it was strength or chance or fate. But Beelzebub is absolutely aware that too well I see and rue the dire event. He is so sorry that such an event has happened. He is so sorry for himself, for all the fallen angels, all the followers of Satan, and also for Satan himself. That with sad overthrow and foul defeat. Defeat is never sweet. It is foul defeat. It's a bitter defeat. It's a bitter pill for them to swallow. Very bitter, very difficult situation for them. It's a foul defeat. And we lost heaven. Further, Beelzebub speaks, but what if he, our conqueror, what if God, the one who defeated us, he conquered us, or do him mightier service as his thralls? Could it be possible that God deliberately sent us because we revolted against God and God wanted to punish us? Hence, He sent us here so that we can service Him, we can offer our services to Him. We can acknowledge the strength, the might of God, and we meekly surrender to Him and start offering our services to God. Is that what He wants? Or, in line 155, Beelzebub says, to undergo eternal punishment. Why has God cast us here in hell? Are we supposed to serve Him? Or are we supposed to experience this punishment forever, eternally? That's something that he's asking. Now, lines 156 till line 330, they again describe Satan and the awakening of fallen angels. Satan speaks in line 157, fallen cherub is a reference to Beelzebub. You have fallen. All of them have fallen. They have fallen from a respectable and a dignified position in heaven to hell. Hence, they are all fallen. Cherub is a reference to Beelzebub. To be weak is miserable. We are not going to be weak. If we showcase our weakness, it means that we are miserable. To be weak is miserable. Let us not be weak. Doing or suffering. But of this be sure. Be sure about this. Either we are doing service to Him or we are suffering here. Be sure of this, that to do aught good never will be our task. We will never do anything good. We will forever indulge in evil activities, bad activities, immoral, unethical activities. That's what we are going to do. To do aught good never will be our task. But ever to do ill, our sole delight. We will forever do ill, unethical activities, illegal, immoral actions. That is what we will do. To do ill, our sole delight. That's what we will do. Consult how we may henceforth most often consult how. Let us hold consultation. Let us discuss that from now on, most often our enemy. How can we offend our enemy? And who is their prime enemy? God. How can we offend God? Our own loss. How repair? How can we repair our loss? We lost heaven. We are right now in a miserable place called hell. We need to get heaven back. We need to retrieve it back from God. How can we repair it? How overcome this dire calamity? How can we overcome this problem, this difficult situation? What reinforcement we may gain from hope If not, what resolution from despair? If there is nothing hopeful, let us see, let us try to resolve our despair. Let us try to solve our despair. Let us have a discussion. Let us meaning, let all of us, all the fallen angels together, let us congregate and discuss what should be our next step forward. To still continue, with head uplift above the wave and eyes. Now slowly and gradually, Satan is trying to raise himself. Satan is actually lying, is absolutely lying flat on this water body of hell. Hence, he tries to lift his head. With head uplift above the wave. That's how Satan tries to lift his head up. And eyes, and he tries to lift his eyes also. That sparkling blazed, his other parts besides, prone on the flood. His other parts of the body, they are still lying in the water body, in the flood. But the other parts of the body, they are extended long and large, lay floating many a rood. Almost the entire body of Satan is floating on this water body. In bulk as huge, as whom the fables name of monstrous size, Titanian or earthborn. The speaker of book 1 of the poem is referring Satan's body as a titan, a huge giant, a monster, as a Leviathan. Leviathan was a sea monster according to mythology, Greek mythology. So the body of Satan is being compared in epic fashion. And dear friends, whenever a poet tries to compare anything gigantically, this is known as epic similes. And there are so many examples of epic similes throughout the entire epic. Even in book 1 also, this is Satan's body is being compared in a gigantic manner. So hence, epic similes is what this means. Forthwith, upright, he rears from off the pool his mighty stature. Upright, now he raises himself up from this water body, from this pool. He rears off from off the pool his mighty stature. His stature is mighty. He is a strong, he is a mighty character. Physically, he is a strong person. I'm not sure if I should be using the word person. We are talking about Satan. Let us say is God, rather of an angel, fallen angel, because he had a place amongst the gods. So his mighty stature, on each hand the flames. Each of his hand there are flames, driven backward, slope their pointing spires. There are these pointed flames that he has in his hands strongly built, muscular. Then with expanded wings he steers his flight, and then Satan takes off. He takes off. This is line 225. With expanded wings, he expands his wings and then he takes off. Is this the region, this the soil, the clime? Said then the lost archangel. Is this the place? Is this the seat? Is this the soil? Is this the clime? Is this what we are supposed to now accept after we were banished from heaven? That we must change for heaven? Is this the place? So he is having a good look at the place. He's taking a round of the place and he's observing the place. This is hell that he is in. And he is questioning that, is this what we are supposed to accept after we were banished, kicked out from heaven? Further, receive thy new possessor. If this is the place, if this indeed is the place, receive thy new possessor. I am the possessor of this place. I am the new possessor of this place. One who brings a mind not to be changed by place or time. My mind is not going to change. I do not have an unstable mind. It's a very strong, determined mind that I possess. And I will now be ruling this place. I am the new possessor of this place. One who brings a mind not to be changed by place or time. So what? That I had a place in heaven. Now that I am in hell, that is not going to change my mind, my mindset. A mind not to be changed by place or time. Some of the most beautiful lines ever spoken by Satan. The mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell, a hell of heaven. What can mind do? If we are not in control of our mind, even if we are in a good situation, in a good environment, if our mind is not stable, if our mind is not healthy, we might still feel as if we are in hell. But here, Satan is actually in hell. So what that he is in hell? He has a calm, he has a composed and a very strong and stable mind. He says it's fine. It's only the mind which makes a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. That's what the mind does. This is fine with me. He is not sad. He is not dejected by this. He has a strong mind. This showcases the strength of his mind. He has a resolute mind. Here at least, and he says further, we shall be free. At least here, in hell, we are free. Free from whom? Free from God. We are free from Him. He is not ruling us, at least here. He is not ruling us. We are free. The Almighty hath not built here for His envy, will not drive us hence. He is not going to command us here. We are no more serving Him. We don't have to answer to Him. He is not the ruler of this place. So no more. We have to bow down. We have to serve God here. And that's a good thing. That's what he's trying to say. Here we may reign secure. No one is going to bother our reign. We can reign. We can rule this place and no one can question our ruling. No one is going to raise any doubts about our reign. No one can do that. So feel free to reign this place. Here we may reign secure, and in my choice to reign is worth ambition, though in hell. If someone asks the choice, the opinion of Satan, he will say that to reign is better rather than to serve. And that's another important line of Satan. He says, better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. It's always better to reign in hell. It's hell, so what? At least we are ruling this place. In heaven, we were answering someone. We were servicing under someone. We were working under someone. Here, we don't have to answer to anyone. We don't have to do that. So, that's what he says. Better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven. It's a good thing that here We will be ruling, we will be reigning, and we will not be serving. Continuing further, when the superior fiend was moving toward the shore, his ponderous shield. The speaker of the poem is then focusing on the shield of Satan. And Satan has a mighty shield, a huge shield is what he has. He called so loud that all the hollow deep of hell resounded. And now Satan is addressing princes, potentates, warriors, the flower of heaven, once yours, now lost. He is trying to inspire. He is trying to instill confidence in the fallen angels. And he is addressing them as princes, potentates, warriors, the flower of heaven, once yours, now lost. If such astonishment as this can seize eternal spirits, or have you chosen this place? Have you chosen this place? What happened? After the toil of battle to repose, have you chosen this place to take some rest? What happened to you? The reason why Satan is addressing the fallen angels in this manner is because all the fallen angels, they are lying helplessly on the water body, just like Satan was lying before some time. And the word, the term here which will be used for all the angels is fallen angels. They supported Satan in his war against God. They favored Satan to be the ruler in heaven. Hence the term fallen angels. They have fallen from their respect, they have fallen from their dignified position. Your varied virtue, for the ease you find to slumber here. Why are you slumbering here? Why are you resting here? What happened? And lastly he says, awake, arise, or be forever fallen. Rise, please rise. Be awake and arise. Stand up. Why are you all meekly, helplessly lying down on this water body? Raise yourself up. If you don't raise yourself up right now, forever be fallen. Be fallen forever. Moving on, next we have the introduction of fallen angels as pagan gods. Now, what is the meaning of pagan gods? In Christianity, pagan gods refers to any god which people have been praising, revering to, other than the gods which are there in Christianity. So, other than them, all the other are pagan gods. People are not supposed to praise them, offer their prayers to them. So, other than the gods which are there in Christianity, all of the others are pagan gods. And here, the angels that, the fallen angels that Satan is trying to awake and arise, some of them are pagan gods. They heard and were abashed. So these fallen angels, they heard the voice of their supreme commander Satan, and they were abashed. They were embarrassed. They were embarrassed. And up they sprung. At once they stood up upon the wing, as when men want to watch on duty, sleeping found by whom they dread. It's just as if someone, a security person, a night watchman who is supposed to remain on guard during the night, and is caught by his superior sleeping. And the feeling that that night watchman or the security person experiences, that is the same feeling that the fallen angels are experiencing. So they at once get up, rouse and bestir themselves ere well awake. So now they are all awake. The first pagan god which is referred to is Moloch, horrid king, besmeared with blood. Line number 392 of the first book. Next is Chemos. Chemos, line number 406, of Baalim and Astaroth, line number 422. Tammuz came next behind, line number 446. Dagon, also a pagan god, who is mentioned in line 462. Him followed Rimmon, line number 467. Osiris, Isis, Horus, mentioned in line 478, and Belial, the last pagan god, which is mentioned in book 1. Next, Satan, marshalling the fallen angels and his plan. This is covered from lines 522 till lines 669. So Satan, he speaks with all his peers, attention held them mute. So now everyone is anticipating, what is Satan going to say? How is he going to address us? What is he going to talk about? But this is where Satan shows his emotional side. Thrice he essayed, and thrice in spite of scorn, tears such as angels weep burst forth. He tried to speak 3 times. He tried to address them at least 3 times. But every time that he tried to address them, he was choked up with emotion. And tears, they were rolled from his eyes. They came out of his eyes. This shows the emotional aspect, the sentimental aspect of Satan. He sat, he's dejected at the unfortunate condition of all the fallen angels, and he's concerned about them. At last, words interwove with sighs, and then at last he tries to speak. And that strife was not inglorious. He's telling this to his followers, that the way our strife, our battle, our war, it was not inglorious, it was glorious. We were glorious in our warfare. Though the event was dire, as this place testifies, and unfortunately what happened is that we lost that war, and this place, it is just testifying how miserably we lost this war. And this dire change, hateful to utter. He does not want to speak anything about defeat or anything about war. But these thoughts, full counsel must mature. Let us have a discussion. Let us bring in counsel, and let us discuss what should be our next step be. What should we do next? How should we take this war against God again? Let us have a counsel, a discussion. And the last part of the first book is about this building of pandemonium, this structure, and its possession by the fallen angels. This is from line 670 till the last line of the first book, 798. Now, pandemonium is Milton's invented name. He invented this name for a parliament building. So he gave this name for any building, a parliament building, which usually has discussion, discussion of important events. So he wants to have a building. That's what all these fallen angels and Satans, they want to have, to create a building and to have some sort of discussion that what should their next step be. So that's what pandemonium is. The last part of the first book is all about building of this structure, this huge structure. So lines 710 till 714 read as, "Anon out of the earth a fabric huge, rose like an exaltation, with the sound of dulcet symphonies and voices sweet, built like a temple where pilasters round were set and Doric pillars overlaid. So after all these fallen angels, they came together. There were groups and groups of fallen angels coming together, building this structure. So ultimately, out of the earth rose an exaltation. So this is not earth, this is still hell. But from the ground came up this structure, a huge structure, and it was built like a temple. So Milton has taken the name pandemonium from the Greek temple, from the idea of a Greek temple, which is a huge temple. So that's how this whole structure is built. A solemn council forthwith to be held at Pandemonium, the high capital of Satan and his peers. So here a council began. All the fallen angels, after this whole structure, this building has been built, they came and they took their seats. They took their seats, they are sitting there, and then discussion will begin now. The high capital of Satan now is this Pandemonium. Reduced their shapes immense and were at large, though without number still, amidst the hall of that infernal court. See, when they were in heaven, they had a gigantic body, a humongous body. But now that they have come, they are lying in hell, and their body is reduced in size, considerably reduced in size. And that's what they did. They reduced their size, their shapes, they reduced them. And then, though without number still, amidst the hall, all of them came and settled. All of them took their seats in the Pandemonium, right, with their reduced sizes of that infernal court. The word used here is infernal, meaning it's burning, it's on fire. So of that infernal court is where they took their place. And the last line of the first book, the great council began. And then the debate, the discussion, it begins amongst all the fallen angels. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University for inviting me to share my thoughts on Book 1 of Paradise Lost. Thank you once again.
स्वाध्यायः परमं तप